Hello, awakened souls. Welcome to the relaunch episode. I'm going to turn this a little bit of the Awakened Souls podcast. I took a little hiatus. Those of you who are new, I am Devin Brown. I am a Kundalini activator. I am a channeler. I am a guide. I'm the founder of Kundalini Rising. I am back. I have been finishing some school semesters. I have been working on my book, which is coming out hopefully this fall, fingers crossed. And I have also been getting my Kundalini Rising program out and ready to go. So that being said, I wanted to jump right in to some things. So, kind of segueing into what this podcast purpose is going to be. I feel like on my own healing journey, I jumped from almost feeling like I had to do it all. Almost feeling like, okay, I'm healed. I have to shout it from the rooftops. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And like when it comes down to it, that's not actually accurate. In order to be ourselves, in order to move forward, in order to truly invest in other people, it's all about investing in ourselves. It's all about being authentically ourselves. It's all about finding the root of who we are and finding the root of where we're supposed to be and moving forward in that realm of things. So that being said, the biggest thing you can do to make a difference for other people, like let's say you feel that calling, you feel that draw, you feel that movement, that you are here for a purpose. You are here for a soul mission, which that is what my Kundalini Rising program is all about, helping you remember who you are, remember what your soul mission is. But when we get so focused on meeting the mission, we end up putting ourselves aside. And the biggest thing that I've learned is it's so easy for spiritual leaders to say, hey, just put yourself first. Hey, find your joy. Hey, practice XYZ. But if we are not taught to love ourselves, if we are not taught to be authentic, if we are not taught that it's okay to be authentic, then that is scary as fucking shit, okay? Like, that is super scary to actually move forward. It's super scary to actually be who we want to be. And you know what? It's time to teach others how to break this mold. So what does it mean to be our authentic selves? What does it mean to be authentically you? It means breaking past the conditioning patterns and figuring out what you actually want. And I know I kind of in the past episodes skated around speaking about my past, skated around speaking about certain things. I implied certain things without actually getting into it. And I feel like I'm at a point now in my healing journey that I can really take responsibility for what I've done, where I've come from, who I am, and where I want to be. And what I mean by being our authentic self, I'll just go ahead and give my story. Perfect way to segue into an episode on authenticity. We literally are taught how to live from the moment we come out of the womb. Eat now, don't eat now. Do this, don't do this. And depending on the family dynamic that we are raised in, we are also conditioned to believe certain beliefs are true and certain beliefs are not true. Now, sometimes we luck out and we have the parents that are kind of like, go ahead, be the wild child, be the free range, like do whatever. And that's great. But even with those family dynamics, there's always a sense of like conditioning on an unpurposeful level. There's like some families that are like, oh, I'm going to condition this child to meet my needs, hence like narcissist codependent dynamics. But then there's also the family dynamics where as a child, you kind of learn subconsciously what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So for me growing up, we had a combined family. It was his, hers, and theirs. There was my father who was married, had 3 kids from previous marriage. Well, 2 kids and then a stepchild from a previous marriage. Then there was my stepmom who had married, who came in with 3 kids, and then they had one together. And in that dynamic, we went from a family of 2 to suddenly there was a family of 6. And it was one of those things that I learned subconsciously, not from anybody saying your needs don't matter, or not from anyone saying you are unsafe to express your emotions, but just by everybody being so stretched thin and everyone walking on eggshells to keep peace. I learned that the safest way for me to be was by ignoring all of my own needs. The safest way for me to get along with my siblings was to take responsibility and blame for things that they may have done that was to protect them from getting punished because I could take the punishment instead and maybe they would like me. It was stepping into a parental role for my parents who were emotionally unavailable and emotionally incapable at the moment to meet my needs. Like, I, as a child, felt the only time I was seen and the only time that I had a purpose was if I was meeting their needs. And therefore, those subliminal, constant situations really made me feel like the only way to be seen, the only way to be heard would be to meet the needs of other people. So then moving forward, I became a fixer. I became somebody with a hero complex. I became someone who really had to be in relationships with people where I felt needed. I needed to save them. They were incapable, and I'm using finger quotes because that's taking away their power, but I perceived them as somebody who needed to be rescued, or they acted like someone who needed to be rescued. And I took on super mom, super wife, super friend, super church leader, super this, super that. Like, I saw a need and I would fill it because it was the only way that I felt I had value. But with that, I just stuffed down and stuffed down and stuffed down and denied those things that, like, one, brought me joy, two, were I was interested in, or three, I felt like was evil or not allowed. And I've talked about this a little bit in past episodes, but basically, I grew up in a very fundamentalist, like, non-denominational Christian church. And we're taught, like, no sex before marriage, divorce is a sin. Once you have sex with someone, there's a soul tie, that there's heaven or hell. If you don't serve Jesus exactly this way, then you're going to end up in hell. And this is right and this is wrong. And it was such a black and white thinking that just never sat with me correctly. And something inside of me for a very long time always just was like, this isn't right. Something is not right here. And I'm going to be talking about this a little bit in my book when it comes out. The moment that I remembered who I was and knew that I was chosen to be here, knew that I wasn't neurotypical, I was neurodivergent, I was not human. I am a spiritual being here for a human experience. Like, I am here to be a leader. I'm here to bring people into awakening and remembering who they were on a soul level. Now, there's so many of us spiritual leaders and spiritual beings and spiritual entities that are not human, that have come down, and we have put ourselves in these families that cause us to break conditioning patterns, but we did it for a reason. I chose my family. I remember choosing my parents for a reason. I knew my story before I came down. Now, there's still free will, there's still free choice, so there's obviously branches that go off, but I chose this for a reason. And you did too. And it's one of those things about, one, recognizing what that reason is. How do I become my authentic self, which is my soul self, which is who I'm aiming to get at? One, it's recognizing that you have a right to have needs. You have a right to be your authentic self. And it's easier to say that than to do it, especially if you're coming from a conditioned or a broken background. It is so much easier to say, oh, just be your authentic self. Oh, just do this. Oh, just do that, than to actually actively do it. And I recognize it was scary as fuck to tell people how I really felt. It was scary as fuck to state, these are my true beliefs. Like, I believe XYZ. It was scary to know that if I share this, somebody might come at me. But then as an adult, I had to sit back and say, okay, as scary as the inner child feels, as scary as the inner child feels about this being words, I have to recognize I'm an adult. No one is allowed to abuse me anymore unless I let them. No one is allowed to gaslight me anymore unless I let them. No one is allowed in my life to take advantage of my kindness anymore unless I let them. And it was coming to that realization and setting boundaries and walking away from relationships, like relationships with family members, relationships with siblings, relationships with my ex-spouse, relationships with friends. I had to walk away from the people that were no longer in alignment with letting me change, that felt like I had to live in this construct, that I had to live in this wall, that I had to be myself. And I'm sorry, the world is way too big, the universe is way too big, and the spirit is way too big. Like, I never want to live in a construct like that ever again. And getting out on the other side now and seeing it from the other side, I have a lot of empathy for those people who are trying to keep you stuck, because I see things from a different perspective now. And I realize most of them are stuck and they just don't realize it yet. It reminds me a lot of the frog in boiling water, and especially coming from narcissistic relationships. You are in a pot of water and it's turned on, and slowly that water begins to boil, and next thing you know, the frog is dead. He never even realizes that he's being boiled. That's what happens when you are conditioned to believe that your needs don't matter, when you are groomed to meet the needs of others, when you're coming from a fundamentalist community that teaches to love your neighbor as yourself, and takes those words and twists them into becoming something that it isn't. Like, if I want everybody to think about this. If we're looking at the Christianity perspective, yes, I do believe that Jesus is real. I do believe he was a spiritual entity. I do believe that he came here to help us remember how to get back to our soul selves, as the prime example, as the GOAT, like people say, the greatest of all time. Like, Jesus came back to show us exactly how to become our highest self. That was his purpose. That was his soul mission. And we can all do that. We can all achieve that. It's a matter of stepping into that. But it doesn't mean that if I don't believe Jesus is the only way to become this, that I'm going to hell. Like, that is my belief. Segue down there, going back into other situations here. So if you are conditioned to believe that you have to give and 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 deny yourself even the very existence of feelings or beliefs that do not align with what you have always been taught, you're trapping yourself. You are doing yourself a disservice. You have the interest that you have for a reason. Since I was a kid, I loved correcting rocks. I loved crystals. I loved all of this stuff. I began journaling the voices that I could hear since the moment that I could write. I filled journals with angels talking to me, with the creator himself, with my higher self, with all of these things. Like, I found source at a very young age as a child, and I never felt safe enough to express that in the way that I'm supposed to express it, because I am my authentic self. And by being my authentic self, I'm going to bring people to a place of healing and a place of balance that they have been craving for and they have been desiring, that they have not been able to get to. And that's you. That is you guys. You can get yourself to a place where you are pouring into other people, where you are making the difference simply by being you, allowing yourself to know who you are, allowing yourself to recognize the patterns that are inside that are not okay. And this is done so good through a mental health professional. This is one of those things that I feel like everybody should have a therapist or a psychiatrist. I highly recommend them. I had been in trauma therapy for a couple years, like doing deep EMDR work, doing cognitive behavioral therapies, doing these things to break conditioned patterns, to allow myself to know I'm enough exactly as I am. I don't have to behave the way that you expect me to behave. I still behave out of kindness. I still behave out of love. I still act from a place of empathy, but I do it with boundaries. And a lot of people aren't going to like that because they can't take advantage of boundaries, especially dynamics that feed on codependence, like the church or religious organizations. And a friend of mine described it this way, and I think it was actually pretty accurate. Religion is one of the most dangerous things that was ever created. And while spirituality in itself is somewhat of a religion, it's a lot less structured. There's a lot of cults that can come out of spirituality, and a lot of deceit that can come when you start interacting with these other entities and these other spirits or these other places. Like, it, because there's dark ones that come and try and pretend there's something else. But that's why it's so important to get yourself to a place of balance and to get yourself to a place of inner knowing and inner peace. And then you can move forward and go into something more, and with knowledge and with discretion and with discernment. And I feel like the biggest part is to get to know yourself. It's to understand yourself. It's to let yourself follow your interests. And here's the thing. So I never told somebody, like my ex-husband did not know who I actually voted for in certain elections because I never felt like I could safely speak that. I have gotten off of social media so many times based on the judgments that people have passed on other people simply because of who they are voting for. And I understand everybody has their passion, I guess is the best word to use when it comes to politics and it comes to all of these things. But I think being on the other side, I realize that none of this is what actually matters. What matters is the choices that I make on a daily basis that are going to either bring love to this world and a vibration of love to this world, or it's going to bring destruction and pull down this world. And I feel like we have had so many distractions put on us in the realm of politics, the news, religion, even the idea of we have to be so accepting in order to be right and be liked that we're beginning to lose the idea that it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to not feel comfortable with something that somebody else feels comfortable with. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to come from two different dynamics and two different side points. So this is just an introduction, just a relaunch episode. I am going to be going deeper and deeper into my own journey, my own spiritual essence, my own spiritual guides. And at the end of future episodes, I actually want to do like a little light activation, a little breathing, like energetic, like little kumbaya type situation. That being said, I'm going to talk real quick. I do have my Quantum Circle membership open for Kundalini Rising. There is a link in my bio. What Kundalini Rising is, I have a program launching this fall, which is going to be to get those who are Kundalini, who are angels, spirits, different entities. You are a spiritual being here for a human experience, but you are a leader and you will know if this is you. Like you will have no doubts, like something on the inside of you has known since you were a kid that you were different. That this program is for you. That's launching this fall. Currently, I have my Quantum membership, which gives you every Monday we do a tarot card reading pull for us. And then on the 21st of every month, I do a energy reading for the next month. So I just had May 21st. So I did an energy reading for June and what we can expect in June, what we're looking for in June, what's going to be coming our way. And then with that, we do either a 30-minute to an hour Reiki session or energy session where I meet you, psychically link with you, and I meet you and we go from the 5D to the 9D, depending on where you are at in your own comfort level. I put you in a deep state of hypnosis and like a nice meditative state, depending if you are not comfortable going quite into hypnosis. Like your body's going to respond with my vocals in the way that it's meant to respond. You're going to get out of it what you were meant to get out of it. So that you get those every month. And then on top of that, you get access to my billionaire mindset, changing your ideas around money and getting you back to the place where you recognize money is literally just energy and you will bring it in or you will push it away based on where your attention is going when it comes to money. So those are the Quantum membership. It's on my page. You can cancel anytime if you're like, this isn't for me. Like maybe I want to try something different. Try it for a month, see how you like it. And then next month comes around, you don't want to do it, you can cancel. There's no obligation. My podcasts are listed on there. I do offer as well like private Reiki sessions and private energy sessions. If you are interested, you can definitely PM me and we can get something scheduled for you. Otherwise, welcome back to the Awakened Souls. Book launch is coming, and in this book, it's all about getting our power back. It's all about coming back into power of ourselves, and not just in I'm healed, I'm good. It's, I'm healed. I remember who I was. I remember where I came from. I remember my past lives. I remember my spiritual giftings. Now, how do I use these? That is where this book is coming from. That is what this book's purpose is about. I am so excited to be orchestrating this with you guys. I am honored beyond measure, and I will talk to you later.